just won't happen because it's a big undertaking. It's like I I can't even like relate it to something else. I mean, it's just any field that you want to get into, like if you want to become anything in your life, you can't become that by being half committed to it. You have to be
Yeah.
wholehearted, like this is what I'm doing with my life from now on. This is what I'm becoming a software developer. And that's what we have inside the web dev incubator. So if you're looking for people like that, that's what we can offer is other people who are like, I'm committed. This is what I'm going to do from now on. Like I don't have interest in doing what I my previous jobs or anything else in my life. I want to become a software developer. And so you're going to have a lot more success if you fully commit to that from the beginning.
The commitment is a huge part of it too, because I think that's like
Yeah.
you see that so often though in so many things where people just they're half in, and so they never really
Yeah.
get far, and then they get angry why they're not great at it, and it's like, well, you haven't made this a priority. Like I mean,
Right.
even though like we said this before, but even though I mean our boot camp had a lot of flaws, like when we were doing that, I don't think I went out maybe once that entire like 11 months because I didn't have
Yeah.
time. I was working, I was doing that, and I really wanted it. So it's like, and I think that's the other thing. Like you have to ask yourself, like, do I want this bad enough to actually, and like to be fair, yeah, you could if this is something you want to do as a hobby and all, that's great. You can do it 30 minutes a day and you can take your time over years. But if it's something you want to transition into and you need to do that sooner, you need to commit a fair amount of time to get good at it. But then it does happen. I mean, that's the cool thing. If you commit, it does happen. And then it gets
Yeah.
easier and easier.
And you can see that like literally just from the comments below, if you guys are reading that, like these are people who are in the web dev incubator right now who are heavily committed, like Randall, Bryce. These guys are not just like, hey, we're taking this lightly. Like, I mean, these guys put in hours, right? Because they're committed to this idea. And I can tell you, they're the first ones who will get hired when it comes down to it, because the commitment shows on the back end, right? Like the amount of hours, how much time they put into problem solving, those things show to employers and they understand that. Like they know the difference between a developer who's taking it half seriously and somebody who's like put in the work, right? I wanted to mention one other thing that I think is super helpful in terms of building the habits. And this is like building projects of your own that you find
Yes.
interesting, right? There's a million tutorials out there that will show you ways to like build projects that are just like half interesting to you. The best thing that you can possibly do, I mean, when you're first starting out, obviously you need to learn the basics, but as soon as you can go from learning the basics to actually building projects that matter to you, you will be motivated to actually code because in the time that you're not coding, you're going to be thinking about the code that you want to write and wishing that you could sit down and code. So
Yeah.
you will actually have this motivating force to be like, man, I wish my app was like this much further, right? Because you want this thing to exist. You're going to put in the hours to
Oh,
do
and
it. So
there's nothing better too than when you're starting like a project like that. Because I remember like the early ones I worked on, like you're struggling with something and then you solve the problem and it feels so good when like you get it
yeah,
to work. And but I think that's true. Like, dude, projects are like the number one thing. Because one, you need them. One, you
yeah,
definitely need unique projects and your own projects that you can talk about and explain to an employer or explain to a client so they can trust that you know what you're doing. But it's also learning how to go from nothing to building a full project is something that I think none of these boot camps and stuff teach people because all they're focused
not at
on is
all. Yeah.
they're focused on dipping your toe in all these different technologies, but never getting past like the basics, like the super basics. And you need to know how
Yeah.
to build stuff. You need to know how to go from zero to production.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, how many Hello World projects do we build?
Oh
And you
God.
literally look at any book on any language, and Hello World is the first chapter. So literally,
Yeah.
they teach you the first chapter in every single language and leave you with
Oh,
nothing.
the best was when we did
Yeah.
the best was Django when they did that thing with that. It's like they didn't explain anything. They're like, just copy paste this to put in this and there you go. It's
Hmm.
like, well, why do we have all these files? What is all this? Like,
Yeah.
oh God, it's a mess.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's why we designed the program how we have, where like literally we're in the over the past 3 weeks, we have taken our time, but we've gone from having a blank screen and nobody understanding Next.js at all to now the guys inside the web dev incubator have built a home page with a button that can pull a random cat picture from an API. Sounds like not that much, But when you look at the code and you look at the understanding that these guys have from literally 4 weeks ago, and this isn't like 4 weeks of software development, it's like 4 2-hour sessions where they
Yeah.
went from like, I don't even understand what Next.js is or how it works or any JavaScript framework to I just built an app that I can actually press a button that interacts with an API, updates the screen, does it using Next.js. Like that's mind blowing.